teach you magic? Why are you so desperate to save me?" Sweetie cringed at every question. "How can I answer? Should I lie? Will she know? What will she think?" The filly's eyes began watering as her frustration grew. She gulped and closed her eyes. "I'm not the Sweetie Belle from this world," she said quickly, trying to say as much as she could without, for before the purple unicorn could get angry at her. "I was really your student. I really liked it. You were an awesome teacher. It was an accident, I promise. I wanted to take a look at the stuff you got for me and—" She sniffled. "You exploded and disappeared. I'm so sorry, Twilight. I'm trying to find you. I'm trying to go home. I miss my friends. I miss my sister. I miss Princess Luna and her Nightmare Night pranks." Philly looked up at the flabbergasted Twilight Sparkle for a second before shutting her eyes again quickly and not able to handle the guilt. "I went to this other world, and Trixie helped me find you. She told me that I was jumping to different worlds. I had to find a piece of you in this one. The last one where the other Twilight, had gone to look for a magic item so she and Trixie could have foals, and I thought it might be there in this world too, but Nightmare Moon captured you, and I couldn't." She paused, shivering and breathing hard. "I couldn't let her do that to you." Twilight stood up and walked around the room, looking at Sweetie as if she were some sort of strange creature. "So let me get this straight. From another world," she repeated slowly, "and you caused an accident that basically destroyed the me from your universe and catapulted you into another world." Philly nodded nervously. Twilight continued pacing. "It doesn't make any sense, Sweetie. How does the magic that is sending you all over operate?" Twilight paused and sighed in frustration. "If you're here, then where is this universe, Sweetie?" Books floated out of the shelf and hovered in front of the unicorn. She quickly looked at one index after another. "This is not it. Not it." She threw a couple of books out of the way. "And this Trixie told you she had something similar?" "Yes. She said that the rhinos use a spell like it." "Rhinos?" Twilight blinked. "They've been extinct for over 100 years." "Well, not in my world." "This is very hard to believe, Sweetie," Twilight sighed. Philly felt her eyes moisten as tears threatened to come out. "But—" Twilight, who was not looking at her, shook her head. "If it wasn't because no pony even believed you could do magic, much less cast those spells, I would say you're lying." "I'm not lying," Sweetie protested as tears ran down her cheeks. "And how does this spell know where to send you? What's to say that this is even a fragment of the other me in this world?" The purple unicorn continued frowning as she looked out of the window, deep in thought. "What happens if you're sent to a world without a fragment? Will you stay there forever? What happens to the local Sweetie Belle? And if you're only sent to the worlds that have a fragment, are there clues as to how to find them?" Twilight sighed as her mind raced through Sweetie's words. "If that's the case, could it be related to me? She found the fragment where the other world's me was with this Trixie," she hummed, trying to imagine herself with another mare. "If the fragments... She found it next to Twilight in a moment that would create a big chance. But has anything like that happened here?" She tapped her hoof against her chin. "If Nightmare Moon was defeated in her world, that's the main difference with this one. We didn't beat her. The elements broke into Sister's castle in Everfree. Could the fragment be there?" She stopped when she heard some pony sobbing. Sweetie cried by herself as her mentor pondered aloud. "I shouldn't be here. I'm not wanted. I should just go." Her thoughts stopped when she felt a hoof on her shoulder, then another hoof on the other. She was pulled into a hug. "I always cry. I'm useless." She buried her face in Twilight's mane, unable to control her shaking body. "It's okay. Don't cry. I forgive you," Twilight comforted, her hoof carefully stroking the crying filly's hair. "You lied, and that's not right. But I forgive you. You have to learn to tell the truth. It'll save you a lot of trouble. I don't know what exactly happened, but if your Twilight is anything like I am, she would forgive her student for a mistake, regardless of how bad it was." "Even if I killed you?" "Thanks, Twilight," Sweetie said hoarsely, pushing her thoughts away to the back of her mind, along with the hurt and fear she sniffed. "As soon as we stop Nightmare Moon, I'll be on my way." Twilight smiled and shook her head. "You don't need to save me, Sweetie." "What?" "But you... slave." "Sex slave, Sweetie, sex slave." "Please don't explain that to her, Twilight. This is sick already." "I know what you're thinking, but—" Twilight hesitated. "Nightmare Moon is not the monster you think she is. At least not here. At least I don't think she is." The unicorn sighed. "I haven't quite figured her out yet, but I know she's not all bad. And she needs me. But then, what have I been doing here all this time?" Sweetie sighed. "So I'm useless here?" "No," Twilight said firmly, drawing the filly's attention to her. Everything we do is a learning experience. Maybe you could have gone away, you would have never tested your current skills to see how well you would have done in the magic test of the level required to enter Celestial School for Gifted Unicorns. The mayor stood up. It was impressive, sweetie. Much better than I did at first. She smiled fondly at the memory. If I had been the Twilight teaching you, I would have been incredibly proud. And also, if you hadn't stayed and tried to help me, you wouldn't learn a new spell from me. Sweetie's eyes widened. Does she mean... Are you saying you'll teach me a new spell? Twilight smiled. How do you feel about a spell to make everything dark? I think it would help you if you're ever in real trouble. Sweetie grinned. Let's pull out the books. The purple unicorn chuckled as her horn's magic levitated from its place in the bookshelf. You're definitely my student. She shook her head in amusement, but looked at Sweetie seriously. I also want you to think about telling the truth to Skulu and Applebloom. Sweetie Belle winced. They are your best friends in your world, and would likely be the same for our Sweetie Belle, Twilight pointed out. It wouldn't be right for them to think she had been lying, and more importantly, if you can't trust your friends, who can you trust? Sweetie sighed. I'll think about it. When Nymer Moon and the Fillies marched out of the bathroom, they found Twilight and Sweetie going over several books, jotting down various passages in the younger unicorn's notebook. The black alicorn sashayed up to them and looked over their shoulders. Fuck these words. Globe of darkness, she asked aloud, looking at the diagrams of fairies in the book. Whatever could Sweetie Belle need for that? Her eyes narrowed as she looked from unicorn to unicorn. Are you helping her plan a prank, Twilight dear? Not at all, Purple Unicorn replied amiably. I'm just teaching her a new spell she wanted to learn. Nymer Moon raised an eyebrow. Why would any pony want to plunge everything in the darkness? There was an awkward pause. Applebloom coughed and looked away. Sony looked at her sister and blinked. Besides you mean, Skulu clarified helpfully after the silent moment had stretched too far to her liking. I think it might be useful. Sweetie smiled nervously. Nymer Moon's eyes roamed from one unicorn to the other before settling on Twilight. You do know that she won't be able to see anything at all when she casts it, right? Twilight slowly returned her eyes to the book, opening her mouth for a moment to speak before snapping it shut on further reflection. The alicorn laughed. I guess not. Her horn shimmered with light, and another book floated out of the bookcase. She let it drop in front of Sweetie. Dark vision. Sweetie looked from the book to the alicorn in surprise. Finally, a question that she had been nagging her from the entire beginning erupted. Nymer Moon? The alicorn, who had been halfway to the door, by then stopped and looked over her shoulder. Yes? Afraid I cannot tell you what Twilight tastes like. She wouldn't approve. What the Wanderer D! Actually, I would be curious. What does Twilight taste like? Snozberries? That's what I'm guessing. Yeah. I like to find out, me being the pervert I am. Oh, Sweetie looked at Twilight, who turned beet red. Okay, that wasn't my question. What is it then? What do you taste like? Why did you help me? Nymer Moon shrugged. I like a challenge. That said, the alicorn simply walked out of the room, leaving a confused group of ponies behind. Well, Twilight coughed, let's copy that spell, Sweetie. As for the globe of darkness, I think you understand the theory. Better get some practice. She hesitated. But see if you can get the dark vision down first, okay? Yes, Twilight, Sweetie nodded, smiling brightly. Okay. Purple Unicorn got up. It's about time for dinner. I'll see you fillies in the dining hall in half an hour, okay? Try to behave. After the unicorn was gone, Skulu turned to look at Sweetie Belle intently. All right, Sweetie, you've had fun, but mind telling me why you're suddenly so good at magic? Should I tell them? No. She would think I betrayed them and lied to her, and I did. I have been studying at night after my sister went to sleep. I met with Sakura and... With who? Don't you fucking know anybody, Hick? Applebloom asked. I don't know any pony named Sakura in Ponyville. Sweetie Belle looked from her to the frowning Skulu in a smile of panic. She's a zebra, and she lives in the Everfree Forest. Please believe me, please believe me, please believe me, please believe me. Y'all don't mean the witch? Applebloom asked in horror. I've heard from my sister that she curses ponies. You met her? How? Skulu asked, more impressed than dubious. She came to town and I talked to her. She's really nice, Sweetie gulped. She introduced me to Trixie, and, well, Trixie taught me how to study. Wow, you're very brave, Sunny said, impressed. Yeah, Applebloom agreed. Sweetie sighed in relief, not noticing the slightly hurt look Skulu sent her way. The Pegasus quickly moved to the books and started turning pages. A particular one caught her eye. Hey, Sweetie, take a look at this spell. Think you could do it? The filly looked over at the page. Well, maybe. It looks pretty easy. Her eyes went wide as she turned to look at the Pegasus. You're not thinking... Yes, I am. Skulu's crafty smile said it all. Oh, God. The whole group sat together at the table in the dining hall in uncomfortable silence. A fork enveloped in magic energy dug into the salad and carefully lifted greens and a tomato out. Twilight Sparkle took a bite and hummed appreciatively as she chewed. This is good! Next to her, Sunny chugged noisily into her own salad, relishing in the flavors and crispiness of the fresh veggies. The others, however, stared at their food nervously. Lemon Moon's fork poked a piece of tomato as the Alicorn pondered if that morsel was the one that might have been spiced up by the Crusaders. The fillies, for their part, looked at the group, food dreading a possible revenge from the Queen. Applebloom whimpered as she looked at the food, her head tentatively leaning forward to take a bite. No! Skulu whispered harshly. We don't know what she might have done to it. But... An angry growl emanated from the filly's stomach, followed shortly by one from Nightmare Moon's. Skulu and Sweetie looked at each other painfully. They were so hungry. Come on, every pony. Don't be silly. Twilight looked at each pony in the eye. You're all just being paranoid. There's nothing wrong with the food. There was a chorus of unsure laughter, and slowly the ponies started eating, watching each other warily. Twilight sighed and carried on eating, her thoughts and eyes straying to the only other unicorn at the table. She then noticed that Skulu kept shooting Sweetie Belle looks and shook her head slightly. When Sweetie's eyes crossed with hers, Twilight nodded slightly towards the Pegasus. Sweetie sighed and looked at her plate. It's up to you, Sweetie, Twilight thought as she watched Sweetie Belle's reactions. Dinner ended on a slightly better note than the stress it had begun with. Nightmare Moon looked at Twilight as she stood up. Well, slave, it's about time to lower the sun. The fillies watched the pair walk out of the room in silence. I gotta see their expressions when they walk into that room, Skulu said, jumping at her hooves excitedly. Sweetie hesitated. Wait, Scoots! The Pegasus stopped. What is it, Sweetie? I want to talk to you. Pegasus lifted an eyebrow. But the room! Don't you want to see how Nightmare Moon... I'm not your Sweetie Belle, the unicorn filly interrupted, quickly looking down at the floor in shame. The silence in the room lasted nearly a full minute. Explain, Skulu demanded, as she, Sunny, and Applebloom walked up to the unicorn. Sweetie took a deep breath. No going back now. I'm really from another world. I came here to find a piece of my Twilight. Stop! Skulu angrily stomped on the ground. If you want to lie about how you all learned all that magic, you don't have to treat me like an idiot. The Pegasus turned around and walked towards the door, bumped against an invisible wall of some sort. What? She poked with her hoof, feeling something stopping her. She turned and glared at Sweetie Belle, whose horn was glowing. Sweetie, let me out! Not until you believe me, the unicorn replied. I'm sorry I lied earlier, but I didn't want you to hate me because I'm not the Sweetie you knew. Does that mean you're not really our friend? Applebloom asked, looking hurt. No! Sweetie turned to look at the earth pony. I mean, I am your friend. I didn't want to hurt you. I got you into trouble once in another world. Why did you come to me in Applebloom, then? The Pegasus filly demanded. Because, Sweetie Belle looked at Skulu pleadingly, back home, you two are my best friends. I needed your help. What did you do to the real Sweetie? The Pegasus snapped at her. Did you hurt her? No, Unicorn filly said. I'm just kind of borrowing her body. She'll be back once I'm gone. I don't think she'll know how to do anything I know, and she will not really know Applebloom or Sunny. At least that's how Trixie explained it to me. So Trixie doesn't exist? Applebloom asked, confused. I thought you made the whole thing up, just so you could take the test. So, what you're saying is that you took over my friend Sweetie Belle and used us, Skulu growled. Some friend you are. I'm sorry. Don't bother. Skulu turned away. Just let us out. Sweetie's shoulders slumped as her horn started glowing. Skulu immediately ran out of the room, while Applebloom and Sunny slowly followed, giving Sweetie long glances. They closed the door behind them, leaving the unicorn alone in the dining hall. The filly took a deep breath and turned around, walking in the opposite direction. Ember Moon looked at Twilight, accented both of them, and walked towards her chambers. "What's on your mind, slave?" Twilight shot her an annoyed look. "Nothing." "Sure," the alicorn snorted. "Should I be feeling jealous of Sweetie?" she teased, a smirk playing on her lips. "Am I going to be replaced? I feel so sad, Twilight, that you would just leave me and—" "Oh, stop!" Twilight growled, looking straight at the alicorn. "It's nothing like that." "So I don't need to feel jealous?" "No, you don't need to feel jealous," Twilight deadpanned. "So you won't leave me?" "I won't leave you." "You're mine to cuddle and play with?" "Yes, I'm yours to cuddle and play—" "What?" Twilight glared at the alicorn. "Hey! If you were paying attention, it wouldn't have happened," Ember Moon chuckled. "But since you so kindly offer, I will take full advantage of your promise tonight." What? No!" Twilight shook her head as the door to Ember Moon's chambers opened up with a bit of magical help. "We have to lower the sun." "I swear to God, Wanderer D, if there is sex in this chapter, I'll probably like it. Go ahead, let it happen." I'm kidding. I don't know. Just whatever." "Oh, Twilight, you're no fun." The alicorn stopped in shock as she looked around the room. "What? But how—" "Her bed. It was pink. Her books. Pink. Her desk. Pink." Purple Unicorn looked around impressed. "My Ember Moon? I would have never guessed. But—" The alicorn quickly stepped out to confirm that they hadn't taken a wrong turn. My room!" She looked at the unicorn with pleading, horrified eyes. "It's all pink! This must be a nightmare!" "Don't know," Twilight muttered, poking a pink piece of armor. "Feels pretty real to me." The black alicorn gritted her teeth. She started shaking. The bookcase occurred into the carpet. "Pink! Crusaders!" The sun was wrenched out of the sky with far less effort than ever before, and a very tired Ember Moon stopped angrily around the castle in search of the Crusaders. "Of all the things those little—" The alicorn sputtered indignantly. "Pink! Pink! Can you believe it? How do they even do that? It's— Ugh!" Twilight was following the queen as fast as she could. "It's just a prank, Ember Moon. Don't do anything harsh." "I'll show them a prank," the alicorn vowed as she opened another door and saw Skulu, Applebloom, and Sunny walking towards her. "There you are!" she glared at the group. "You have crossed the line!" "Yeah, whatever," Skulu growled as she passed by. "I don't care. You win." "And if you think you can get away with this and challenge me again, I—" The alicorn coughed and looked down. "Beg pardon?" "I don't care anymore," Skulu repeated, not looking back at the two adults. "I just want to go home." "But—" The alicorn frowned. "Is this another prank? Because I'm pretty sure it's my turn." "I said I don't care!" the filly snapped. Just let me go." For a moment, Twilight worried that the alicorn was about to antagonize the obviously upset Pegasus further. Ember Moon kept quiet and nodded. She looked at Applebloom. "What about you?" The earth pony filly scratched the floor, obviously torn. She sighed. "I think I should go home, too." "Very well." Ember Moon walked past them. "Follow me." Spike was about to run out of the library when he heard a noise coming from the portal. He turned around and looked at the group of ponies that stepped out of it. "Hey, every pony! You just missed Sweetie Belle. She came here and—" "I don't care," Skulu snapped. "Okay, hold on." Twilight stepped in front of the Pegasus. "I think I know what happened. Sweetie Belle told you the truth." Purple-eyed Pegasus nodded. "You knew?" "I just found out earlier." "Sweetie, she lied to us, and she said she was our friend." "Girls!" Spike waved his hands at them. "Listen, Skulu. I know it's strange, and she shouldn't have lied, but you have to understand that—" "Girls!" Spike shouted, then stopped as he felt something rumbling in his stomach. With a loud, flaming burp, a scroll appeared in the air, which he caught in his claws. "Hey, I wonder where this came from." Also, I said that stupidly. "Hey, I wonder where this came from." The fire interrupted the argument, and Twilight had opened the scroll with a flash of magic. Ember Moon and Sunny looked over her shoulder, both of them curious. "That's—" The alicorn blinked in surprise. "I never expected that." "Wow!" Sunny smiled. "What is it?" The spider self, Skulu, crowded the group as Spike and Applebloom shared a look and joined them. "Well, I'll be." The earth pony smiled while the dragon whistled. Skulu said nothing, choosing to frown. "Yeah, whatever. Let's give it to her and be done with it." That's what I've been trying to tell you, Spike said, drawing their attention. Sweetie came through the portal earlier and said something about having to go away. When I asked her what she meant, she said she's going to the Everfree. What? Nyma Moon looked surprised. That's dangerous. Why would she think of going there? Apple Bloom asked. She should know better. Oh my, Twilight gasped. She must have not heard me when I was thinking out loud. I thought the fragment might be in the place where we fought Nyma Moon with the elements of harmony. Fragments? Nyma Moon asked and frowned. I think, Twilight dear, you should tell me what's happening. I will, Twilight nodded. But right now we have to catch up to her. It's too dangerous for her to go alone. Who cares if something happens to her? Scootaloo snapped. She's not even really... Scootaloo! Twilight interrupted her, glaring in disbelief. I know you're hurt and angry, but do you really want something to happen to her? The Pegasus looked away, shuffling nervously. Well, no, but you have to remember, where she comes from, there's another Scootaloo and another Apple Bloom that are her best friends, Twilight said. She doesn't know when she'll see them again, and you two are the closest she can get to them. And right now she's in the Everfree Forest alone because she thinks you hate her. Scootaloo looked down at her hooves. She shouldn't have lied. No, she shouldn't have, Twilight smiled. But she's our friend, right? And friends forgive. Apple Bloom put her hoof on Scootaloo's shoulder. I know we only just met her this morning, but I feel we'll always be good friends. Let's go help this sweetie, and y'all can introduce me to the one you know. With a glance at the Earth Pony, Scootaloo nodded. The Everfree Forest. It was there where Zecora lived, the place that Apple Bloom had frequently visited to spend time with her zebra friend. It was there that they had been attacked by the cockatrice and witnessed the awesome power of Fluttershy's stare. It was there that the elements of harmony had fought and defeated Nyma Moon, or at least where they had in the other two worlds. It was here that the castle of the Alicorn sisters was located. Sweetie didn't know how to get to it, as her excursions into the forest had never gone too deep. However, she remembered hearing from her sister and the others as they talked about it. The way wasn't that difficult to follow. It was a long trip, and the forest was a dangerous place. But she didn't care. Slowly making her way down the path, Sweetie paid no heed to the voices of the forest until she heard some pony moaning in pain. She stopped and looked around. Where did that come from? And who could be so stupid as to come here at night? There it was again. She turned to her left, where several thick bushes limited her view to a mere few feet. In front of her, taking a deep breath, Sweetie gathered her courage as she stepped into the bushes. The bushes scratched at her hide, and her mane got tangled more than once, but she persevered. The noise was coming from just up ahead. She finally broke through the growth and onto a small, clear area of the forest, where she could hear the sounds. She carefully stepped around it until, behind the log, she found a pit. And lying at the bottom was... Zecora! Sweetie gasped as she recognized the zebra. Are you okay? Now I gotta rhyme. I've surely hit my head or ear. Is it my name that I hear? Zebra asked weakly, looking up at the filling confusion. Their eyes crossed, and the zebra gasped. Child, this world is not where you belong. Your presence here feels rather wrong. You know? You can tell? Sweetie gasped. Many things I have observed, but talk later we must if my life is not preserved, the zebra answered. A hearty meal we would both become, if the wrong creature were to come. I must ask you with all due haste, to pull me out, for there's no time to waste. Sweetie looked around. I'm not strong enough to levitate her. Her eyes settled on a loosely hanging vine. I think that'll work. Her horn aglow, she uncoiled, tore, and lifted the vine from the tree branch it rested on and lowered it to the zebra. Then she tied the other end around the tree. Try to come up now. With the aid of the vine and Sweetie Belle pulling, the zebra managed to scramble out of the pit. Thank you. I was afraid I would have to spend the night here. It's certainly not a fate for which I'd much care. It's okay, Zecora. You would have done the same. The zebra looked amused. You know my name, and unless I forgot, you have me at a disadvantage since we haven't met. Oh, Unicorn Filly smiled. Sorry, my name is Sweetie Belle. Well met, young Sweetie Belle. Maybe you can tell. The zebra nodded. What are you doing here, in this forest most ponies fear? I'm trying to get to the castle of the Royal Pony Sisters. I was following the old road when I heard you. If it's the castle you want to reach, a better way I must beseech, Zebra advised. Come with me and you shall see. They walked in silence for the most part. Zecora seemed to be concentrating on the ground around her, no doubt wanting to avoid any other pitfalls. It was a few moments before the filly remembered. Hey, Zecora! You said earlier this wasn't my world. The zebra smiled as she continued leading the little filly. Indeed I did. For the truth may be that the soul I see is not for the body before me. Sweetie sighed. Yeah,